BBC Television, London, W12, and mark your envelopes, postcards, exciting status quo competition. Now, The Cure have a new live LP in the charts, Concert it's called, and tonight they're gigging in Montreal, which isn't a lot of use to us, so it's very lucky that Whistle Test filmed their only UK appearance earlier this year, and most of it went out as part of the Rock Around the Clock thing during the summer. And Richard Skinner, looking for an excuse to show the rest of that concert, went to interview Robert Smith of The Cure and asked him why the band are abroad so much. He did.
Most English groups play in England until they get to a certain position, and then they can go abroad because they get nice food backstage and the rest of it. Whereas we always played in Europe. Every time we played in England, we always thought of it as just European. So, and the same with Australia and New Zealand. We first went there in early 1980. So they remember things like that, because when we went, we played small clubs and actually met the people who were coming to see us. So that's why we're successful. It really is because people have seen that we haven't neglected them until we've become, reached a certain status, and then and then deigned to play to them. It's like we've always played to them.
Do you find it better now that you're able to concentrate totally on The Cure?
I don't actually spend more time, I don't think, concentrating on The Cure. With the reason why I had to leave the Banshees is just because what would have been my free time to concentrate on other things, I was with the Banshees, so that just got a bit too much for me. Whereas now I still spend the same amount of time with The Cure, but the Banshee time is now Robert time. It was something that I really wanted to do, because I wanted to step back from being just Robert Smith of The Cure. I mean, it becomes a bit wearisome after a while, because you start to think of yourself as this person. So I thought playing with the Banshees would allow me to, move off and be forgotten. I mean, obviously standing behind Sue, you are standing behind Sue. So I think musically, a lot of what I think would have gone into The Cure, I put into the Banshees, which left a sort of pop for The Cure to meddle with. So I suppose it did have an effect, but it wasn't really a conscious one. And the time I was playing with the Banshees, I never used to think about what am I going to do with The Cure to make it sound different. So it's, I don't know. In retrospect, there's a difference, but I wasn't aware of it.
The funny thing is that a lot of the music press seems to be trying to make out that you actually actively disliked the last album, and that was part of the reason why you left.
No, we had a few disagreements about the production, the actual sound of the record. But no, I mean, it took a long time making, and I was just part of the making of it. But when it got to the final stages, I began to sort of think in slightly different ways, sound-wise. But then everyone did, but I didn't have the stamina to argue with the Banshees en masse, because it's a difficult thing to do. There were too many people, I thought, in the studio at the end, and so I thought one less would make it easier. But I don't think that really matters, because I haven't liked Cure productions in the past when I haven't been completely in control, so, yeah. I mean, there's disenchantment, there's sort of degrees of disenchantment, but it really had nothing to do with me leaving. I mean, whether I thought it was the best album ever made, I still would have left.
Let's talk about the glove project that you did with Steve Severin. What was it all about, and why did you do it?
To make millions.
Of course.
And it went tragically wrong. That was just something that we'd had as an idea for ages. But it just happened that we had time off that coincided. I was getting a bit tired of playing with The Cure, and he was This is when Sue and Budgie went to do the Creatures.
Yeah, a lot of
That's
people
right.
thought it was a reaction to that, actually, didn't they?
We thought of it much before then. It was sort of mentally very, very distressing doing it. It was really good fun, but I came out of 3 weeks in the studio feeling like I'd spent 180 years with him. I liked it. I thought that the album was really good. I'm sadly in a very small minority, I think. It wasn't very well received.
Love Cats, I mean, that is ultimately commercial, with a capital C in the end. Do you see yourself continuing in that sort of vein in the future?
No. I mean, again, you say that, it's commercial with a capital C, but when we did it, there was a lot of debate as, you know, as it would have been commercial suicide to release it, because we did it by going, we just happened to be in France playing a festival, and I had this idea for doing something a bit jazzy, so instead of coming back to England, we went to Paris and recorded, because I thought it would be really slinky to record there, as we'd never recorded outside of England before. And it did sound very, it was supposed to sound very like the Aristocats or something, very sort of late night Paris. So it worked, but I mean, it was just a one-off. It didn't really have, I mean, there was nothing on the top that sounded like Love Cats, and there'll be no Love Cats follow-up, you know, there'll be no Love Dogs or whatever.
How much is The Cure you at the moment?
It depends. There's lots of facets to it. I mean, live, it's very much the 5 people that are playing. I mean, I think it's by far the best live lineup we've ever had. It's the most powerful lineup. But I mean, ultimately, it rests on my head or in my head, or it doesn't rest a lot of the time. It gallops around inside my head. But no, everyone's involved. I mean, they have to be, otherwise the whole thing would be a bit pointless.
The live LP that's come out at the moment, are you pleased with that in terms of sound and a representation of what you can do live?
Yeah, again, for what it is, I think it works. It looks like a bootleg, and it's supposed to be our version of a bootleg. It's all black and white and very cheap, and it was done very, very quickly, about 4 days of mixing. And it's very rough, but I think that's how live albums should be. My favourite live albums sound rough. I don't like live records that attempt to sound like studio records, because obviously you may as well go into the studio and re-record it.
10:15 on a Saturday night, and a tap drips on a strip light. When I'm sitting in the kitchen sink, and a tap drips, drip, 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 drip.
said, maybe you got up early on the day you were interviewed, but you said in an interview that I read that the time that you stop working in contemporary music is getting close. Did you mean it?
Yeah,
Well, why is this time getting close?
because I'm getting too old.
What are you, 25? 25? Quarter of a
See, it's
century.
showing.
That-
God, you'd have said I was 17 last year.
You're not getting too old.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's not really a physical age. It's it's something I think that most people don't come to terms with until it's forced on them. That the idea of stopping, and I'd rather sort of be aware of the fact that I'm going to stop rather than suddenly, you know, watch myself sliding down the endless slope to oblivion. So it's there. I mean, you have to constantly remind yourself that it always, you know, it's not always going to be like this. That there's got, obviously there was something before, there's got to be something afterwards, and it's really just that. I mean, I've been doing this now playing in a group since I was about 9 years. So I shouldn't think I'll be playing in a group for another 9 years. So therefore, it's sooner than later.